Logging on. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So good afternoon. Thank you for taking the time to join us for today's town hall meeting. My name is Kalisa. I'm going to be your behind the scenes person to assist you with any technical assistance that you may have in today's virtual town hall. So let's just take a moment to navigate through your toolbar at the bottom of your screen. And for those of you that are calling on your phones, all you need to do is simply tap the screen and the toolbar will appear at the bottom, just like it does on a computer. The first thing I'd like you to do is locate your microphone. If you're not muted already, please place yourself on mute, and you'll know you're muted by that diagonal line. It's drawn through the microphone. This is going to help prevent that audio feedback while the presenters are speaking. Second, I'd like you to locate your chat icon. It's at the bottom middle of your screen. And when you click on the thought bubble, you'll notice the Zoom group chat column appears to the right of your screen. Again, for those that are calling in on your phones, you're just simply going to tap your screen. Once the toolbar appears at the bottom, there's 3 more buttons to the right that you'll tap on. A new window is going to open, and then you'll be able to tap on your chat icon. So if everybody has located their chat box, take a moment to type your name, the center that you're from for me into the chat box. And so if you have a question that you need to ask, I just ask that you type your question in the chat box. We'll use the chat feature since everyone will be muted during today's town hall. As you can see in the chat, the message automatically defaults to everyone. If you have any technical assistance questions that you require during the town hall meeting, all you need to do is hover over where it says everyone. And if you click the down arrow, you'll see everybody's names. You can find my name, click on it, and then your message to me or your question will be private between us, and I can help you with any technical issues you have. All right, so does anyone have any questions before we continue? Let's see.
All right. Like good afternoon, everyone. We're good to go? Okay, and as you'll notice, the doorbell stopped. I figured it out. Google is a great tool. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this afternoon. For those of you that I have not met, I'm Jennifer Grant, the CEO of the Early Learning Coalition. I know this was a short turnaround to have you join us, but there are so many things going on in early learning night right now that I wanted to try and catch you before the beginning of the school year, so that we could just share some information, let you know what you will be hearing more about, and make sure that we have some reminders in place so you start the school year off successfully. We certainly want to make sure that we're continuing to provide support to you throughout the school year. So as you can see, there are a lot of things on our agenda. We are recording today's meeting, so I tend to talk fast, and I apologize. There's so much to speak about. But I will do my best to try and slow down, and we're recording this so that you can go back and listen to it later as well. So we will send this PowerPoint as well as a recording that links to our YouTube page where we post that for you to share with your peers, any of your assistant directors or owners, or someone that was not able to join us today is welcome to share this information. First of all, we wanted to talk about health and safety. If you have not emailed me in the last 2 weeks about a positive COVID case, consider yourself extremely lucky. Just so that you understand, COVID is running rampant in Seminole County, in the state of Florida, but Seminole County is what I'm worried about right now, right? And I wanted to make sure that you were all aware that if you have a positive case of a teacher or a child that has been attending your center that I need you to notify me directly, and that's jgrant@seminoleearlylearning.org. I know many of you have communication with your compliance specialist or your VPK specialist, and it's fine that you include them, but I am reporting to the state regularly on COVID-related closures. So I want to make sure that you continue to contact me directly. And that means even if it's an individual child that hasn't been there in 2 days and the health department says you don't have to quarantine anyone, just let me know and we can have some conversations. I am here to support you as you navigate this. With children going back to school in the public school next week, we know that there's going to be more exposure. I had a conversation with one of our lead epidemiologists at the health department this week, and I just want to pass along the reminders and ask you to please share with your staff. We need to kind of look at things right now as though it's the start of COVID. Remember when we kept children in bubbles, we wore masks, we sanitized our hands, you only had maybe one person go into the classroom with those children or the 2 lead teachers that were in there. We didn't merge different age groups in the morning and in the afternoon. I'm reminding you of all of these things because we need to kind of go back to basics. And the only reason that I'm suggesting all of this is to remind everybody about protocols is because we're having lots of cases. And what that means is your center could have to close a classroom for up to 10 days. You could have to close your entire school for up to 10 to 14 days. So, and that's based on the epidemiologists and what's going on. So I know that you're all dedicated to serving the children and families that are in your care. And I just want to remind everyone to kind of go back to basics, particularly those of you that have had staff turnover since the beginning of COVID. Now is the time to remind everyone about hand washing, sanitizing your hands. We do have a number of clear masks still within our coalition, and we are happy to give those to you so that your teachers can use them. That helps particularly with the infant and toddler classrooms so that the children can still see your face. It is your business decision as to whether or not you follow the CDC guidelines and request that children over the age of 2 wear masks in your center. And whether or not you have teachers wearing masks in your center. I leave that up to you, but I'm just trying to remind everyone to kind of consider going back to basics on the protections here for the COVID transmission. I did have a conversation yesterday with a provider, and please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to share any resources that we have. But someone had asked about free testing sites. So when you get a letter from the health department and you have to notify your families that their children of a particular age can't come back for 10 days, there are on the health department, the Florida Department of Health website, if you click on vaccine sites, there is a button that you can push for free testing sites. And it lists that places like CVS and Walgreens will offer testing to individuals without insurance. If you have insurance, they'll ask you for that information, but we don't have, from what I can see, testing sites run by the county anymore or the Department of Health. We're sending people to those locations. So I just wanted you to know that as a resource, because of course parents are concerned if you say there's been an exposure, and we want you to have all of the resources available to share with them, and for you to be able to make sure that parents understand you're protecting children in their care. Another thing that's come to our attention is we've seen a lot of hand, foot, and mouth disease, a lot, Jennifer's term, but a number of cases recently. And so in my conversation with the health department, they said now might be a good time to have just a refresher course on proper hand hygiene, cleaning and disinfection. Again, I know that you all as leaders in your centers can't be in every room all the time to do all of this, and you really need to work on your using your team members for that information, for supporting you. So I wanted to just shoot out a poll and see if you would be interested in having the health department. We would probably do something on an evening and then ask them to record it so that we could post it as well for your staff. You could run over it in a staff meeting or something along those lines. So I'm going to actually just do a poll right now. Oh, my polling session is inactive. So whoever on our team has the poll, if we can run the poll. It's just asking if you would be interested, because I don't want to waste the health department's time, but we will schedule something if it's valuable to you. So let's see. Who else on the coalition team has logged in?
Harry, did you log in through Zoom? Or did you click the link?
Through I'm inactive.
If any of them has the poll, any of our team members, sorry about that, guys. Zoom doesn't coordinate with us on this stuff.
I can't do it.
No, okay. It's not me either.
All right. I'll try one more time. It says I'm logged in from another device. Our polling session is inactive.
No,
I'm inactive also.
All right.
I don't have the availability, Jennifer. I just saw it popped up. It says refresher training.
Launch it.
Yeah, hit on.
We can see it.
I
have it. I always have it for some reason, so I just launched it.
Beautiful. So it should pop up on your screen and ask you a question about if you're interested in a refresher course. We would appreciate it if you would select an option there if you're interested. And we will, you know, if we have enough folks that are interested in this, we will get with the health department and send out an email as soon as we schedule something with them. Okay. Can everybody kind of give me a thumbs up or a wave if you're seeing that and you're able to move forward? Yay, because I can't.
They are responding. It just, I have to end it at some point, so just let me know when you want to.
Okay, we'll wait for a few minutes and give everybody a chance. If anybody's as technologically challenged as I am, let's give everybody plenty of time.
It's saying
All right.
34 or 44 have completed, so we're at 79%.
Okay, so we'll give it a few more minutes.
Well, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
Jennifer. It's appearing as if those of us that went in through Zoom, it's not going to show for us. So you might be 100%, Lori.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you for your feedback on that. And please just remember that you are welcome to call me directly regarding COVID concerns. You know, how you handle things in your center other than what the health department requires you to do is completely up to your business decision, but I highly recommend that you all just kind of go back to the basics and do some refreshers so that we can keep serving children and families and keep them protected during this time. Just note for you all, you can see on the slide that the CDC.gov did that new coronavirus, basically saying that they recommend indoors that everybody, even those who are fully vaccinated, wear masks indoor over the age of 2. They have not updated the child care specific guidance. They're applying this to everybody. So I want you to understand that if you look specifically on the CDC website for the child care related guidance, it does not reflect this yet. They haven't gotten to that point. So I want you to be aware of that. But this is what the health department sent me and what they are recommending. And if you are interested in the clear masks, feel free to send me an email with your phone number and I will coordinate with you in a way to get those to you, because it's a great tool to be able to have, especially your infant and toddler teachers. And if you're starting a new school year and it's a new teacher for children, you want to make sure that they can see your facial expressions, and that's a good way to keep them protected in the meantime. Okay. Right. And Kalisa, I'll just let you jump in if there are any questions as we move forward. Thank you.
We did have one about testing kits in drugstores. Did health departments say these are good testing options?
You know, I have not spoken with them about those testing options. I will tell you from personal experience, because I have 2 sister-in-laws that are physicians, that they're effective if you do follow the directions and do the test exactly correctly. If there's too many drops that you literally are using an eyedropper, if you drop too many drops, it can negate the test. So, you know, again, it's a resource that's available. There is a cost related to those. But I have not had any feedback from the health department. That was just Jennifer's personal experience from family members trying to use those. So take that for what it's worth. Okay. So we have a bunch of reminders for you. And again, we're sending these out, but for those of you that are starting a new VPK year, we wanted to make sure that you remembered that you have to have 4 children. Last year, we started the year with all kinds of waivers in place. There are no waivers for VPK this year. So you have to have 4 children registered and enrolled to start your class. You must have an approved lead teacher and director on the first day of services. We know with this COVID craziness that you may have something happen between now and next week or the following week when you start your programs. Please contact your VPK specialist, me, your compliance specialist, one of us immediately if you have an unusual circumstance. So we will work with you through the situation. And if you have to change your calendar for some reason, we'll work with you on how to do that. So we want to minimize having impact on children and families as much as possible, but the sooner you contact us, the more quickly we can provide you with support so as not to disrupt your program. Okay. Please remember that if you are changing any of your staff in EFS Mod, you need to email us. Our friends that have built our EFS Mod system at the Division of Early Learning, unfortunately have not set it up so that it tells us when you change something. So you think you've submitted it and assume that we know. We do not know when you make a change. And with close to 200 providers in Seminole County and hundreds of teachers, lots of changes can be occurring right now. So please enroll the compliance staff or the VPK staff when you make changes. Okay. If we don't approve those changes, you can't enroll any children. So you're not going to be able to get paid. You're not going to be able to start the program. There are all kinds of things that it will stop you from doing. So again, just let us know and we'll work with you through the system. Okay. The other piece that sometimes folks make mistakes on is when you're enrolling the children and you terminate them, terminate the day after their last day attended, because we want to pay you for their last day of attendance. And if you terminate them on that day, then we can't pay for that day. So I know it seems like a little nuance, but for 4,000 children in Seminole County, that's a lot of payment that we could be making that we're not able to. So make sure you terminate the child the day after their last day of attendance. Okay. Another question that's come up regarding VPK is with EFS Mod in place, that provider portal and parent portal in place, you can accept a VPK certificate at your Seminole County center, even though the child resides in Orange County or Volusia or Brevard. The system, when you enroll that child, will change the county. In the past, we used to have to send you back and the family back to get a certificate from a different county. You don't have to do that anymore. So the system itself, it doesn't matter where the child lives for VPK or where the certificate was issued. It simply matters that you've enrolled an eligible child that has a certificate in the state of Florida into your center. And it'll change everything else. So you don't need to send the families back. And I know historically we had to do that. You don't need to mess with that anymore. So it's one thing off of our to-do list. And we referenced in here as page 110 in the provider manual, just so that you know about that on the portal guide. Some of us haven't gotten to page 110 yet, so just wanted to point that out to you. Okay. For school readiness program reminders, wanted to remind everyone that we are back to doing class assessments. We had put a hold on those class assessments. There had been waivers last year. There are no more waivers for the class assessments. So please, each month, submit your staff rosters in the QPS system and make sure that you have any staff changes up to date, because that is what we use to identify the teachers, and the system randomly selects the classrooms that will be assessed when the class assessor comes to your center. You're still going to be notified. We'll give you your window. All of that stuff is still going to happen. So we're not just blindly showing up, but it's really vitally important for you to actually keep those rosters updated so that we're accurate when we get this done. We've got a lot of assessments to do this year, so we wanted to make sure you're aware of that. Another piece, again, if you've had staff turnover, if you're just, as a refresher, starting the new year, please use the My Teachstone Learning resource to learn more about class tools, and you can use them, the exemplar videos, you can use in a staff meeting, you can have staff discussions. We highly recommend that you use that tool and those mini trainings to try and make sure that everybody's up to speed and you get the maximum class scores, because it in fact affects how much we can pay you when our class assessors come out. So we definitely want to pay you as much as possible, and we highly recommend those resources. Thank you, Kalisa. She's been throwing out some of our links to our website, so that's in the chat box. We'll have those for you later. From our compliance team, we have some additional reminders. This is, again, about documents that have an expiration date. So if your insurance expires September 1st, we need to have your new insurance, I'm using that as an example, uploaded at least a day before, on or before that expiration date, because we have to approve it for you to continue to be eligible to offer the school readiness services. So please make sure that you keep track of those insurances, licenses, your GoldSeal, your accreditation, anything that impacts your payment and your eligibility. If it's a document that expires, we need you to make sure you let us know and update those. If you don't, then you're potentially not eligible, and the state and the feds may ask me to reclaim payments from you if you weren't eligible because you hadn't updated those documents. So we, again, just a reminder to keep those up to date with us. With the compliance team, the same thing occurs here, which is if you change it and you update it, send us an email, because EFS does not, that provider and family portal does not notify us when you change something. So if you just send an email that says, I've uploaded my new license or I've uploaded my new insurance to your contact person, then we can go in and approve it, and things will run much more smoothly than us trying to chase folks down. Okay. All right. So I know all of you are waiting for this. Hopefully everyone on this call has applied for our teacher retention and sign-on bonuses. These funds, thanks to some of our team members working, about 24 hours a day over the last couple of months, last month, have approved the teachers. And anyone that was in QPS, so I want to make sure that everybody understands this. If you were in, these are quality funds that we use to get some money to your teachers and those that impacted the quality in your classroom. So if they were listed in QPS, or if they had an impact, meaning they had taken MMCI, some of those types of things, they were authorized. We will be uploading who was approved for either the $500 bonus or $250 bonus to your ShareFile portal, and the funds will be released to the center this Friday. So you'll probably see it in your bank account by Saturday or Monday is typically how this works. The next step in this process is, because these are quality funds, we have to prove to the state that you've given these monies to your teachers. So the form that you see here is basically an affidavit that the Division of Early Learning has approved. We will ask you to release these funds within 14 days to the teachers who are eligible. If the teacher has left your center between the time that you applied and the time that we release the funds to you, we ask that you do return those funds to us, and we can assist you with that process. You can't use this in any other way. It's very targeted funds. If you have any questions, we'll be sending this information out via email. The forms and those that are approved will be in your ShareFile portal by Monday. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to me directly, and I'll happily explain our justification of who was authorized and who was not. We do highly recommend that if, for example, you have a bus driver, a cook that's instrumental in your business, and we know they're very important, that you use some of your Phase 5 CARES funding to maybe give them some kind of a financial stipend but we couldn't use quality funds for every possible person in your employ. I see a question, what if an employee has quit or moved out of state? If they are no longer with you, this is a retention bonus. So the intention is that they're still with you. If they're no longer with you, we'd like to get those funds back and use them for other purposes. Okay, thank you for the question. And again, we're happy to work with you. Okay. The teacher retention bonus was open for those. I'm trying to remember all of the requirements without it in front of me. You didn't have to be open during the summer. They had to be employed. So they had to have been with you, and they had to be coming back this fall. So they had to, if you lay everybody off over the summer and then rehire them again in the fall, that would be a problem. But otherwise, they should be eligible. And we're using last year's quality fund. So this is our last possible time to do this. Okay. I know it's a lot of information. We'll be sending it to you in writing, but I wanted to let you know that the money was coming so that you could let your teachers know that the funds were coming. Okay. Not to be confused, the coalition's teacher retention and sign-on bonuses are different from the state coronavirus response and relief, disaster relief payments for early childhood instructors. This is $1,000. If you have not applied for this, the deadline is Friday, August 6th. It is the invitation will come from the Division of Early Learning, specifically Ernst & Young, that's managing this on behalf of the state. It is for $1,000. Directors are included in that payment. It's for early childhood instructors. The coalition is only encouraging you to apply. I want to make sure this is $1,000 per instructor. If you have not gotten an invitation for this, please let me know. Or you can reach out specifically. Oh, Kalisa just shared the file. There is a hotline number and there is an email address that you can email to make sure that you get your invitation by the 6th. It's the director's responsibility. This goes to the director, and it's the director's responsibility to list all of the eligible teachers, and then the Ernst & Young contractors, the Division of Early Learning under DOE, will be authorizing that and releasing these dollars to the teachers directly, is my understanding. It won't come to you like our money's coming, it'll go directly to the teachers. But teachers cannot apply themselves. The directors must apply. To go back to the question before, even if you were closed over the summer, if those individuals were employed, apply. Put everybody's name in. And there are webinars today, tomorrow, and Friday. You don't have to watch the webinar, but it does explain the information and the eligibility requirement. But you can't share invitations. It must come to the director. And if they don't have an email address for you or your center, then they can't send you an invitation. So I want to make sure we're just really encouraging. A good number of our team members on the call today have actually been making individual phone calls to those that the state has reported to us that they have not started an application as of last Friday. Please don't miss out on this. This is $1,000 per instructor. It's a lot of money to go to those teachers. And just so that you're aware, they will be doing a second $1,000 incentive for teachers, or a bonus, probably in January. And there will be another eligibility period and so on. So there's more money coming for teachers. And that's something for you to just remind your teachers about, that there's more funding coming to support them, because I know things financially are kind of tough right now for everybody. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Jennifer, I do.
Yes.
Hi, it's Anna Lynn with Seminole County Schools. I have literally been trying with OEL since July 20th for them to include all my schools. So I waited, I emailed them 3 times. I called the number, what they told me to do. I chimed in on a conference call, which I've sat in on 5 of them now. The problem is they were missing some of my schools. When they added those schools, then they were missing more schools. So I just sent them another email because like everybody else, I have a million things to do right now with school starting, and this is due on Friday. I don't know if you can help me with that.
Well, we're not managing it, but I will let you know, my understanding is as long as you have an invitation, a personalized invitation by Friday, they will work out the kinks with you. So I don't think it's done as of Friday, Annalyn, particularly if you are in writing to that email address. I would recommend in writing to send them that you're continuing to have errors, because again, a lot of folks, perfect. A lot of folks are rushing at the last minute. A lot of people miss the email. This is for contracted and non-contracted coalition centers. So anybody that's legally operating in the early childhood space is eligible statewide to apply for these dollars. So there's a lot of folks trying to get a hold of them. And it does my heart good. I hate to say that. I know it's frustrating for you all, but it's lovely to hear that an outside contractor and the state themselves understand the challenges of managing all of this information. So the goal is for you all to get your invitation by Friday and get the process started. But there still may be some back and forth.
Okay, thank you. Because I just really wanted to cry. I'm just going to say it. Thank you.
Be diligent. Keep up with them.
I will. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Jennifer, we have a couple of questions. Again, it's the teacher bonuses, that first one that you were talking about, and the second one, if it was a separate application, the teacher bonus program. So they're know about the two different.
So we have two different ways that the state and the Early Learning Coalition are trying to support your teachers financially. The coalition came up with an application for teacher retention and sign-on bonuses, knowing that many of you have struggled with retaining teachers or hiring new teachers because you're competing with industry. We use the board authorized us to use some of our quality funds to incentivize the retention of teachers and the sign-on for teachers that have stayed with you for at least 90 days. So that's one application. The disaster relief payments for early childhood instructors is a totally different pot of money. The coalition is not managing it. We're just trying to get the word out to all of you and help you apply. And that comes from the coronavirus response and relief money, and the state of Florida is managing that through the Department of Education, Division of Early Learning. So two different buckets of money. So if you have a teacher that stayed with you through this whole last year, they would be eligible for $500 from the coalition plus $1,000 from, if they meet all the qualifications, they will have that done, approved as of, well, whenever the state gets done, but it could be up to $1,500. I'm not sure their timeline on releasing funds.
And then we have another question about the disaster relief program. The staff that receive it this first time, will it be the same staff that will receive it in January, or for different staff?
There will be a totally different application process. So it will be a new set. They may say everybody who's employed and on your staff as of January 2nd. I'm making that up. I don't know what the requirements will be, but they're just going to go through this process again later in the school year for another $1,000. I will mention a point for those of you that are VPK only. For our retention and sign-on bonuses, those were quality dollars that come under our school readiness program. So the retention and sign-on bonuses that we did had to go to those that are in our school readiness program. Hold tight. Okay, hold tight, because depending on funding availability, we may do something for everybody again later on. We're really trying to do everything that we can to support you all. I know that was a little challenging, but we're just trying to support those who are out there working with children every day during COVID.
And then one more question about, can they still fill out the application for the teacher retention program that pays out this Friday?
Nope, we are done with that one. So I know those who applied, thank you for doing that. You can still do the application for the state funds, but our quality funds were out of last year's money and we had to get those all back in, and we've been processing them since the end of July 1st. So we've been rushing with that.
And I'm seeing a few questions about the teacher retention bonus, and they had not received the application. So I think you had clarified that it was for the school readiness providers.
Right.
Let's see. And that's it.
Okay. So we'll move on. Let me tell you a little bit more about this information, because those of you who have received either phase 1, 2, or 3 CARES Act funding from us through that grant process, then we had phase 4 and 5. We anticipate a phase 6 coming from the Division of Early Learning sometime in late August. Now, I'm going to tell you a couple of other things that may change that, but the state has more money to come to you. So again, when you start thinking about you'd like to keep your teachers and incentivize them, there will be different set of rules for phase 6 coming forward, but just know there's more money coming your way. There is a significant amount of money that the state of Florida has received from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, we're calling it. The ARPA funds the state of Florida received approximately $2.5 billion with a B to support early care and education. A lot of money to support what you're doing in the community, because COVID has identified to federal legislators and business owners and decision makers at the federal and the state level that what you do every day is basically a foundation for our economy getting back up to speed, and that nobody gets to go to work with young children unless they have quality childcare. So what that means is money is coming your way. They call it childcare stabilization grants. I do not know how much money, but I know it's going to be more than anything you've seen so far. So when you look at phase 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, the next round of grants will be significant, probably more than the 2,000 here and there. So one of the things that we are looking to do within our Early Learning Coalition is have some focus groups. One of the things that my goal is to support you in ways that it is helpful for you and your staff, make sure that the programming and resources that we offer are things that you want and need. It is absolutely a waste of our time and your time to ask you to come to a training or spend time developing resources that are not what you need at this time. So what I am looking to do is in the next probably 2 months, have some focus groups. Some of them will be, depending on what our COVID rate is, will be virtually through Zoom. We may do some evenings, weekends, during the day, and I'm going to ask maybe VPK only providers to come to some, and you're all welcome to participate. I'll do as many meetings as we need to get everybody who wants to participate, but I'm going to be asking some very specific questions about business supports, teacher supports, and improving the quality in your childcare center so that we can make these dollars that come your way work for you more than just over the next 2 years that these dollars are released, and that these dollars ultimately will be able to improve your revenue from the VPK program and the school readiness program for longer than the time that these grants are awarded. We want to help you earn more money long term. We think that's the way to stabilize the industry. It's the way to help you keep quality teachers and do what's right for working families and the young children in your care. So that's coming. I wanted to let you know. Again, $2.5 billion are coming to the state of Florida. $1.5 billion approximately will be in those child care stabilization grants. The other $950 million or so is going to be through a committee of stakeholders around the state, so accrediting bodies and different groups that represent child care providers will be participating in discussions over how those funds are to be used to meet what the federal government is requiring. So again, lots of money coming your way. Phase 6 is anticipated in the near future, then the child care stabilization grants. Some of these grants are going to require more reporting. In the past, we just gave you the money and said, tell us what you're going to spend it on, and we were done. These new grants are going to require you to prove that you spent it the way that you said you were going to spend it. And so that's, again, why I want to sit down with you all and have some conversations about how we at the coalition can support your use of these dollars and give you some options, help maybe do some legwork. Could we talk to vendors and get packages together so that you don't sit down with a provider or a vendor's 500-page catalog to try and figure out how to use these monies to help your center? So maybe we can assist in some ways by having them put some things together that would help meet your needs, and ultimately improve the amount of money that we can pay for your services. Okay. So lots of money coming your way, and I wanted you to be aware of that. So in addition to, go ahead, Colisa.
Somebody was just asking how they should pay their staff, with a personal check or payroll check.
It's a bonus. So however you want to do it within your center, if you're talking about the coalition award, the retention bonus, it's however you and your accountant decide is the best way to release those funds. I don't want to get into your private business, but it is a retention and sign-on bonus. So talk to your accountants about that piece. Sorry, I wish I had better answer for you, but I don't want to get into the weeds on everyone's personal business models. Okay. So you may have heard me say today, probably more time than needed, that we are no longer funded by the Office of Early Learning. It is now the Division of Early Learning. This is a result of legislation that passed this last fiscal year. House Bill 419, House Bill 7011, and then Senate Bill 252 were three bills that really had significant impact on the early learning space, on both coalitions, the Office of Early Learning, now the divisions, and early learning coalitions as well. So I want to go over a little bit of this for you. And I know that none of you have anything to do right now at the start of the school year, but I want to let you know in your free time that the state will be promulgating almost 30, maybe more, rules guiding our contracts, how we do business, what we pay for with VPK and school readiness, based on these law changes. So we will continue to communicate with you on how to participate in rule promulgation. You can do it in person. You can, right now they're doing those meetings virtually. You can do it by writing your opinions, but I highly recommend, if you have the time, that you and or your team members participate in these and read these draft rules as they come out so that your opinion can be heard at the state level. Certainly our team will be participating and making recommendations, but we do our best to represent you, but we would really like to have you participate as well in those processes. Another announcement that I haven't even told my entire team yet, but as of yesterday, there has been a change in leadership and a transition at the Division of Early Learning. Shan Goff is transitioning out of the division, and we have a new director. His name, I have not met him in person yet. I heard him speak for 10 minutes yesterday. His name is Matt Mears. He was formerly the general counsel for the Department of Ed. So he has connections and knowledge at the state level of Department of Ed. He stated right off the bat that he is not an expert in the early learning space, but he is looking to surround himself with experts to help him make the best decisions possible and be supportive of all of the great work that you all are doing. So hopefully in the near future, we'll have some more information about him and be able to introduce him to you. But we wanted to just let you know that that leadership change had occurred. And the reason I wanted to tell you that is because our next slides are all proposed things that previous leadership had recommended. So understand that what I say next is open to change. There may be a new direction with new leadership, but the laws are in place and there will be rules that have to be promulgated. I don't know if they're going to be done in the order that I'm going to share with you next, But I just wanted to let you know with that leadership change that there could be some change in the next components that I share with you. So there are a lot of stakeholders that those bills are going to impact. The Division of Early Learning, I've already mentioned. The GoldSeal program, for those of you that are accredited and have submitted your accreditation through DCF to become a GoldSeal accredited provider, that is leaving DCF, and the GoldSeal will now be under the Division of Early Learning. So there will be rules promulgated about that. We'll talk about it in a minute. Your CCR&R profiles, that's when you do your provider profile on the provider portal for us. Each year we ask you to update that. That is going to include in the future things like your class scores so that parents have that additional information to make decisions about childcare centers when they are electing where they want to send their children. So that's important for you to know. Of course, all of these new rules will have to go through contracts, and then there's some VPK training and accountability pieces that are changing as well. So we'll go to the next slide. And a lot of this is in its beginning stages. You can read the bills yourself, but the details in the rules are going to be what really make the difference for us. We have VPK program assessments, accountability. There's a group called the Council for Early Grade Success. It is a collaborative group that will be advising the Division of Early Learning on their rules and their processes and some of the assessment tools that will be being used. There is a customer service survey that will be coming to you through the coalition. Coalition mergers are covered, governance, and then the evaluation. There are 30 early learning coalitions. They wanted a consistent evaluation for the executive directors or CEOs of all of the early learning coalitions. So those are just a sample, the big overview of what's covered in these bills. We'll go to the next piece. Again, this is what previous leadership had listed as their priorities. Of course, addressing the issues for early learning providers, then the GoldSeal program, the accountability and program assessments for VPK program, the VPK through grade 8 progress monitoring. You all that are offering the VPK program will be part of the monitoring of children all the way through grade 8, truly a part of the educational continuum for young children. The coalition governance that I mentioned, and then the move of Office of Early Learning to the Division of Early Learning. So a little more about GoldSeal so that you understand where this goes. We'll go to the next slide, please. GoldSeal is going to transfer from DCF to the Division of Early Learning. It's going to revise some of the requirements. It's going to provide for increased rate differentials. So if you're GoldSeal, we may be able to pay more by provider, by school readiness child. It's going to require the State Board of Ed to adopt rules, revises our accrediting association requirements. So if you're GoldSeal right now, we're going to have to watch this to see if the new rules continue to have your accrediting body covered. So we'll be working with those groups as well, but I want you to be aware of that. It deletes the requirement to consult with certain entities for specific purposes. There were some different consultations in the previous law under DCF. Now it moves it under DOE. Has exemptions to some ad valorem taxes. Those of you that don't know, you can be exempt for some property taxes, some ad valorem taxes, if you are GoldSeal and own your facility. So there's going to be some changes related to that. We want to let you know the benefit of being GoldSeal. And then it provides for the continuation of certain contracts and interagency agreements. So in general, there are a lot of rules coming here. I want you to be aware of that. Let's go to the next one. I think this, okay. So the next piece, for those of you that are offering VPK, there are new requirements for emergent literacy training. And so now the law says that VPK instructors must complete 3 5-hour emergent literacy trainings. We are waiting for the Division of Early Learning to tell us what those are. Right now, there are 2 5-hour courses. They're developing a 3rd. I promise you, as soon as we know what your teachers need to take, we will release this to you. and let you know when, where, and how these requirements are in place. So I'm just trying to let you know that it's coming so that your teachers understand this will be a requirement. I don't have a timeline yet, but I want you to know it's on the way. In addition, once you've done those 3 courses, every 5 years, there will be another literacy training course that you're asked, at least once every 5 years, that you're asked to take. And my understanding is they will be developing new courses to enhance teacher training in the VPK program over time. But these are 2 pieces in those laws that directly impact VPK. So this again is proposed timeline. The Division of Early Learning, as of 2 weeks ago, was working on an emergent literacy course. There are some revisions to their courses. There was a memo to VPK teachers that they sent out in July of 2021. That was their intent. That they are going to review the DCF training transcripts. So that's something to take a look at once we get that memo, to look at the training transcripts. Then they'll start in September through January working on rule development. And by December, they should have that 3rd course available. What I don't know right now is whether or not people who have taken courses previously, those courses will be grandfathered. So those are the kind of questions we're going to have to ask as they promulgate the rule. Who has to do this? When do they have to do it? I know many of you have teachers that have been with you a long time, and maybe they've already taken 5-hour courses that meet this requirement. We need to find out if the law intends for them to be grandfathered or if everybody has to take all 3 courses in the next year and what their timeline is. Do you have to do it before next VPK year, by the end of this VPK year, before you sign a new contract? Again, those are all questions that we're going to have, but participating in rule promulgation will be a great way to do this, and we'll certainly continue to share information as we get it. The next piece is VPK program assessment. And we've all had multiple conversations over the years about the fact that VPK programs were assessed on how well they did preparing children for kindergarten when they were assessed in kindergarten 60 to 90 days after they had left your program. This law changes that. What it changes is that you will now have a different type of assessment. The state will have to procure for an assessment, and children will be assessed at the end of your program year and at the beginning, rather than to see how they did, and then we'll track them through kindergarten, but that's not how you're held accountable. Again, full implementation and program assessment pieces are coming. And we'll take a look at those as they come, but it will be a program assessment that has observers and actual classroom observations that will take place as part of this assessment, as well as how the children do in the pre and post assessment and their growth scores. So there's a lot of components, moving parts here. And so we'll see as the state procures this tool, what this looks like, and let you know as it moves forward. Okay. We'll be training and offering all kinds of supports to you along the way. On the next slide, this is just another piece about VPK accountability. I know you can't all read this right now. Again, we'll send you the handout and the PowerPoint. But basically for this fiscal year, our 2021 fiscal year, it talks about how they did the VPK readiness rates. Then in 21-22, our year that's about to start here, it shows we're having pre and post assessments. That's our AP1 and AP3 are still required. They're going to do the kindergarten screening results, but it can't be used in calculation of readiness rates. And the providers who fail to meet the minimum are subject to the provider on probation requirements, additional training requirements and support. By 22-23, there will be no VPK pre and post assessment. There will be coordinated screening and progress monitoring implemented. There will be participation in a program assessment. And this is where that Council for Early Grade Success is going to help confer with the Division of Early Learning and the Department of Education to help adopt a methodology to fairly calculate your performance metric that'll be applied in the following year. I know we're all planning to be here through 2025, no retirements allowed. I know through the pandemic, we've lost some folks in our industry, but we've got a lot to do. And there's a lot of good things on the horizon for all of you. So we're just trying to introduce this right now. I don't have a lot of details and specifics, but want you to be aware and share this with your VPK teachers. The next piece, this just talks about that Council for Early Grade Success. It tells you a little bit more about coordinating with the Commissioner of Education, conferring with the department on the methodology of that VPK performance metric, and overseeing the coordinated screening and progress monitoring program. So it's not just one person or one individual doing this, but it's stakeholders in our industry that will be representing everyone to make sure that this is fair and accurately represents the work that you're doing with young children. So hopefully this will be a better result for you as a VPK provider in demonstrating all the good work that you do, and it'll capture more of what you do every day for young children. Let's go. This is just coalition governance. You may or may not be interested in this, but I wanted to be completely transparent and share it with you. There is a requirement. It changed our board composition a little bit. We can have more or less private business sector members. It also means in our county right now, we don't have any governor appointees. It allows the Commissioner of Education to appoint someone in lieu of the governor. And I will tell you all, we only have 2 provider reps, but if you know private business sector folks that are interested in participating in our board, we'd love to have more private business sector folks apply to the governor's office to join our board. It talks about state board enforcement. So if we are meeting all our contractual requirements, just like we monitor you, and I know everybody can roll your eyes because it's a pain, we get monitored by the state and the federal government. So we have the same type of compliance issues and can be put on non-compliance if we don't meet our standards, and there will be performance measures. They're also looking at if over time a coalition doesn't meet 30 coalitions, if one of them doesn't meet their performance improvement plan, then they could merge coalitions. So that's something that could be done statewide. It changes the executive director evaluation so that all EDs or CEOs across the state have the same evaluation. And so the boards are consistent with how they're evaluating executive directors and CEOs. It also talks about a customer service survey. That's for parents, for providers, for CCR&R calls. That will be coming out. I know in the past we do surveys with you, and it's always frustrating that we get 5% or 10% participation. I highly recommend, as we start to do these kinds of things, that you use these surveys as a way to give us information on how we can do things better. I can't change the rules of the game, but if we can communicate things better to you, or if we can do our job in a different way, we're always looking for opportunities for continuous improvement. So I highly recommend, as these things come out, that you participate and encourage your families to do so as well. Federal issues. Let's go to questions first, maybe, Kalisa, if we want to do that. I know we're... Excuse me?
Okay. So the first question is, will the bonus have a 33% tax amount that the staff will at some point be accountable to pay?
Sorry, I had apologize for my dog. Amazon must have shown up. I do not know tax implications. So that is something that your staff and your accountant will have to talk to your providers about. I cannot answer that question for you. What I can say is this is a bonus of quality stipends. When we buy blocks for your center, we don't generally tax those. This is a bonus for the quality improvement of your center. So again, that's a private tax piece that you would have to discuss with your staff. I don't know individual tax status of all of your staff, but I know that the staff could use it. Even if 33% of it goes back to the government, they could probably use what they can get. So I don't want to answer tax questions specifically, but I will tell you that these are quality funds that we were giving to providers to stabilize and improve the quality of care in your centers.
The next question is, will the cost to go through the process of GoldSeal still be the same? And then in parentheses, high.
I don't know. That's a really good question. Different accrediting bodies charge different amounts of money. And then it doesn't cost anything technically to submit it to DCF. It's the accrediting bodies that set their fees. But as I mentioned, there's more money coming in stabilization your way. So maybe that's something that you could spend those funds on, even if it is high. The state cannot tell a private accrediting body how much to charge. So that I don't think is going to change. But we will certainly look at how we can share that information with accrediting bodies and help you see ways that you could fund that, or maybe we could support that.
Okay. Do you have any updates about class violations affecting GoldSeal, or the rules will keep the same? And then thank you for loving the meeting.
Okay, you're welcome. Right now, the rules that class violations impact GoldSeal stay the same until they promulgate new rules. But that may be something that is covered as a part of the new rule promulgation, with GoldSeal now being under the Division of Early Learning. I'll get it right someday. The Division of Office, I was going to say. The Division of Early Learning, that'll be part of their rule promulgation. So that's definitely something for you to speak up about when they open those rules.
And is this beneficial to providers that we fall under the Division of Early Learning versus OEL?
That's a really good question. And I'll be real honest with you, I don't know. I will tell you there are some pros and cons. The reality is, over the years that I've been involved with early learning in the state of Florida, we have been under everything from the workforce division, because we help parents go to work by taking care of their kids. Now we're completely under the State Board of Ed, which means that birth to 5 education is being recognized in this state as part of the continuum of education. You are recognized as educators. And I know that there's been some division over time. We also have to understand that the State Board of Ed is making decisions for the entire state, but just like they make decisions for our school district, and then our school district has local control, we will let the coalition have some local control about what goes on. So there are probably pros and cons to this, and time will tell. But the one thing that I think is really important is that you all are recognized as educators, and we're getting away from the term of childcare as something that's dismissive. You are part of the economy in our community. You're part of the education of young children, and without the work that you do, our school district would not do well, and our children that are going out into the workforce would not do as well as they do. So I think that recognition is really, really important, and I hope that it will be beneficial for all of you. Okay. So the last piece I wanted to share is about federal issues related to early care and education. One thing that I will say very clearly about is that I am not allowed to lobby. My salary is paid through taxpayer dollars, but I do want to educate you about your opportunity to have your voice heard at the federal level. Children's Forum is an organization that has, they help with GoldSeal right now with the Division of Early Learning. They also employ class assessors, and they have a lot of investment in programs in early learning in the state of Florida as a stakeholder. That organization receives federal updates, and if you'd like to be on their mailing list, I highly recommend that you check their website so that you know when things are coming up federally. And then the other The other group that I wanted to let you know about was the National Women's Law Center. That's a group that, again, representing women in the workplace, is traditionally connected to early care and education of young children because historically that's been a female's job. And we wanted to let you know that there's a take action button on their website where you can fill out a form and say whether you agree or not with legislation. But there are a couple of things that they're working on at the federal level that have been proposed. One is that they expand the school readiness program or subsidy for early care and education so that families would not spend more than 7% of their income. And at the same time, instead of undercutting the industry, they say they want to increase the wages for early childhood educators. What's been proposed right now looks like the federal government and the current administration is recognizing early care and education as an infrastructure component to the economy and something that is needed for all children and families because of what's happened with COVID, and that everybody's realized that if you are not there to do your jobs, nobody else can do theirs. So I just wanted to share that with you. I wanted to highly recommend, these are just 2 easy ways for you to keep up to date. Share this with your parents, particularly when they're concerned about how much money they're spending on childcare and those parent fees. I know you hear it regularly and you're having to justify the great work that you do. Nobody says they don't spend enough on childcare. Everybody complains that it's too expensive, but we also know that the folks in this industry are underpaid. And so this is an opportunity for folks to give their opinion. Whether you agree or disagree, I highly recommend either way that you participate and have your voice heard, and encourage your parents to do so as well. It's a great opportunity, and this is pretty amazing, the amount of money that's coming in to the early care and education industry, and we'd like to see that continue so that you can keep doing great work. I think we've got one more slide. These are just additional friendly reminders. We'll send out an attachment to you, but this is where our provider portal still has some challenges with uploading sign-in and out sheets. So this is simply a reminder that if you can't do it in the provider portal because the files are too big or you're getting blocked, we are maintaining our Seminole share file as an alternate location so that you don't have to fight to get it in the portal. I recommend that you try, but if you're not able to, we want to give you the Seminole share file. We do need every sign in and out sheet every month. We will be going through monitoring and we have to look at those regularly. So this is just some information to share. And please note that doctor or parent absence notes in school readiness, anything above 3 absences, you have to submit them when you submit your attendance for us to approve any absences over 3, okay? And there's some hints and tips in here about that for you. Another thing I wanted to just mention on behalf of the finance team, when we talk about COVID closures, if you have a COVID-related classroom closure, use a D, which is an absence due to disaster, to record the children's absences. That's the only time you're to use that code, that absence due to disaster. If the child is absent due to COVID exposure or exposure to COVID, you have to submit the child as absent and not mark the child as D, absent due to disaster. So it's different. If they're quarantining because of potential exposure, that's an absence, and then you're going to give us their parent note. Please do not send in the portal or in ShareFile positive COVID tests. We do not want private health information. I don't want to know the name of anybody that tests positive. We just need to know that it's an absence due to disaster because that it's a COVID-related closure versus the child was exposed and is absent, but it didn't impact your classroom. So there's a difference there. And we'll send this to you in writing as well, but I wanted to make sure that you had that information. And please, again, if you have any COVID closures, email me directly at jgrant@seminoleearlylearning.org. And I hope beyond hope that nobody has any of these problems after this week. Any additional questions? I know I've taken a lot of your time. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Anything, Kalisa?
No, I don't see any questions.
Okay.
I just wanted to let them know that I did upload or put in the chat box the friendly reminder, the slide that you were just talking about. So if they have the capability, they can download it to their computer right now. And I also put your email address in there for them.
Perfect.
So Jennifer,
Thank you very much.
did you want the poll results? They were up on my screen. Now it says I'm logged in from another device, which I am not, but my poll station is inactive. So I can tell you what it said, or somebody else might have the results now. I don't know.
What did it say? Go ahead and share what it said, Lori.
It said it was 69% in favor of having a refresher. The
Okay.
top, and the one something about I don't know the questions anymore, but it had something about a recording that was like 3%. The others were like 3%. So
Okay, so we will do both. We will create it, schedule it with the health department, and we will record it so that you can share it with your teachers in staff meetings or at whatever time you'd like to share that with them. We'll go ahead and ask the health department to go over that for us. So we'll get that scheduled right away. In the meantime, if there's anything else we can do for you to support you, we appreciate everything that you're doing. We know next week is going to be a little bit crazy for everybody, but we are here to support you. We do have clear masks, and we really appreciate everything you're doing. We look forward to having a great year with you. Thank you. Bye.